My name is Alara Wynn, and I'm 34 years old. The day I realized my place in my family was a transaction, not a bond. The dishwasher hummed like a tired engine, and the sink smelled faintly of lemon soap. Mia, 8 going on Old Soul, was sprawled on the living room rug, coloring the ocean the wrong shade on purpose because whales deserve teal. Noah, my boyfriend, was on late shift, texting me memes of raccoons like small bandits because he knew laughs were cheaper than therapy. The phone call came on a Thursday evening, my mother's voice pitched to that theatrical hush she saves for announcements wrapped in barbed wire. "We're not doing birthdays for kids this year," she said. "Finances are tight." It wasn't new, the way she opened with a verdict and expected me to grade my reaction in A's and compliance. I swallowed the heat and said the thing our family trains into women who keep the lights on. Okay, what else was I supposed to say? Because our rules were simple. Don't question too much. Don't make things awkward. Don't act like you're owed anything. I told myself we'd improvise. Pancakes at home, paper streamers, a movie with the volume too high. Mia doesn't need a circus to be happy. She needed honesty. But even while I tried to be understanding, something wouldn't settle. I'd paid their mortgage more times than I can count. I'd covered Brooke's car lease when she transitioned between jobs. I'd added my mom's phone to my plan just until the Verizon mess blows over 5 years ago. Dad's insulin? On my insurance, because paperwork gives him hives. Saturday afternoon, I was scrolling, brain set to neutral. No suspicion, no hunt. Just the kind of idle thumb parade that makes you forget your own name, and then I saw it. Ethan's birthday party, my sister Brooke's son. A production so loud I could hear it through the screen. A bounce house swallowing the sky, clowns with painted moon faces, a magician mid-flourish, and a food truck parked like a crown jewel in their yard. People laughing, plastic cups raised, confetti midair like sparkling lies. Brooke glowed in the photos next to Jake, her husband, the one she said was swearing off extras until things stabilized. Stabilized looked like $1,000 weekend and a photographer with a drone. I didn't react. Not at first. My thumb stopped over a frame where Ethan held a balloon sword taller than he was. The caption read, "He deserved this redo. Last time didn't feel like him." Redo. 5 months after his actual birthday. A redo. Tiny footsteps approached. Mia climbed beside me, hair frizzed from the afternoon humidity, her fingernails dusted with blue crayon. She squinted, tipping her head like an owl, then whispered the question that split the floor under my feet. "Why not me?" The 3 words sat in the room and grew teeth. I let the phone slide onto the couch cushion and pulled her close. "We're going to do something just us," I said, and I meant it. Aquarium, beach, glitter sneakers. I would build her a celebration out of driftwood if I had to, but somewhere under my ribs, humiliation turned into something harder. Not rage, not even sorrow. Clarity. I went to the office and pulled open the drawer where I keep the things that make me feel sane, receipts, scans, neat little proofs that I wasn't imagining the way I sponsor a house I don't live in. I found the most recent mortgage slip I'd paid, took a picture, no explanation, no caption marathon. I dropped it into the family group chat with 2 words, return to sender. Then I put my phone face down and sat with Mia while she colored the whales weirder. 14 minutes later, the screen lit up. Dad calling. Then again, 2 more. 10 missed calls in 20 minutes. Mom tried next, then Brooke. I let every ring die in the dark. Not a single text, not when they think they've been caught. Calls are less permanent than words you can screenshot. I used to believe I could outgive our family's favoritism. I paid, I patched, I paved. The invisible support beam no one admits is load-bearing. But watching Mia stare at a carnival thrown for a child who isn't mine, while being told her birthday wasn't in the budget, the truth finally spoke plainly. They drew the line. Ethan is the golden one. My daughter is optional. By Sunday night, the group chat was a confetti graveyard of deleted messages and half apologies. Brooke sent a paragraph about a friend of Jake's who covered most of it, how it came together fast, how we weren't trying to exclude Mia. It just kind of happened fast, she wrote. Forgetting my daughter was a scheduling issue, a clerical error, a shrug dressed as an apology. I didn't respond. I didn't perform reasonableness. I logged into my bank accounts instead. The auto pay to their $1,530 mortgage on the 15th paused. Brooke's $412 car lease canceled. Dad's insulin delivery copay. I'd been smoothing through my plan. Halted, and yes, my stomach lurched. I am not made of stone. Mom's line on my family phone plan removed. A dozen quiet tributaries I'd been feeding into their river diverted back to the ocean of my own life. I kept my hands steady and my breathing slow. This wasn't revenge. This was weight redistribution. Monday morning, no pings. By Tuesday, Mom tried casual. Hey, sweetheart, something's off with the mortgage. Can you check your bank? I let the message sit like laundry in a machine that never beeps done. Wednesday, Brooke. My bank called about the lease. Did you change something? I read it. I didn't reply. Thursday afternoon, Dad finally noticed the pharmacy pause. He texted, then called, then texted again. We need to talk. This isn't funny. The word funny made me laugh, a dry sound that felt older than I am. I walked to Mia's room. She was building a city out of shoeboxes and tape. She held up a crooked skyline and said, "Do you think whales like apartments?" I said, "Only if there's teal." That evening, Noah called from the parking lot, the crisp buzz of streetlights in his voice. "You okay?" "I'm done being their backup generator," I said. "Good," he answered. "Backup generators aren't supposed to power the whole neighborhood." By Friday, I'd settled into a new rhythm. Ignore, inhale, exhale. Brooke arrived on my porch with a Tupperware and guilt rearranged into a smile. She knocked 4 times. Mia peered through the curtain and whispered, "Aunt Brooke?" I shook my head gently, turned on a cartoon too loud, and stood in the hallway listening to the knocks grow smaller. After a while, she left. The cookies were store-bought oatmeal raisin, which felt like a metaphor. Not even chocolate chip. Contrition on sale. They still didn't get it. They thought my silence was petty, a tantrum. But tantrums are loud. This was the opposite. This was turning off a faucet that had been running for years, in a house where everyone pretended water was free. That night, I opened our accounts and hovered over one more pipeline I'd been funding, the internet bill. I remembered when Dad forgot to pay last year, how I stepped in and took it over, and how no one said thank you because gratitude suggests dependence and dependence suggests hierarchy, and hierarchy threatens the myth that they're the parents and I'm the grateful child. I ended that too. The next morning, Brooke texted, "Wi-Fi's down. Can you check with Spectrum?" I almost wrote, "Ask the magician," and then let the joke die quietly. The silence said enough. By week's end, the mortgage company called me. Secondary contact on their account. The woman they ring when the facade slips. The voice was polite but firm. Missed payment, late fees, early foreclosure if the pattern held. I thanked her for her time and did not warn my parents. The past has a way of teaching you that a warning, offered to people who never listen, is just another subsidy. On Saturday, I took Mia to a little theme park 2 hours down the coast. She rode the Tilt-A-Whirl twice, hair a banner. We split a funnel cake and let sugar powder our noses like clumsy clowns. Back at the motel, she fell asleep with teal stains on her fingers and the TV murmuring a cartoon ocean. I lay there in the mechanical dark and scrolled through my unanswered messages. "Dad, enough is enough. You made your point. We're still your parents." Still your parents. The words hung like damp towels. Parents, I thought, don't write scripts where love is collateral and birthdays are bartered. Parents don't invite you to play financier while their favorite grandson rides a pony in a backyard you pay for. Parents don't train their daughters to be grateful for crumbs and then call them spiteful when they stop baking the entire cake. I put the phone face down and listened to Mia breathe, steady as a metronome. I didn't feel angry. I felt free. For the first time in years, the room felt like it belonged to us. No strings, no summons, just sleep, and the soft hum of a decision that would change everything. The silence started as peace. Then it grew teeth. By Monday morning, my phone was a graveyard of notifications I refused to dig up. The group chat blinked on and off. Message deleted, like they were trying to erase their own guilt pixel by pixel. I scrolled once, saw Mom's half-formed apology and Brooke's frantic essay about how I'd misunderstood the context, and closed the app before the bile reached my throat. Noah noticed. He always does. That night, while Mia was building a cardboard castle on the kitchen floor, he leaned against the doorway and said, "You're quieter than usual." "I'm just watching what silence does to people who never listen," I said. He smirked, soft but knowing. Then they're about to hear a symphony. By midweek, the family's panic turned to performance. Mom left a voicemail that sounded like she was reading off a script she didn't believe in. "Alara, sweetheart, we're really struggling now. The house could go into default. This isn't just about you anymore." I played it once, then again, then deleted it. She didn't mention Mia, not once, just money, as if the currency of guilt still worked. Wednesday, Brooke tried a new tactic. She texted me a photo of her Audi in the driveway with a tow truck behind it. The caption, "This is what your silence does." I laughed out loud. For years, my generosity had been the family's unspoken bank. Now that the vault was closed, they called it cruelty. An hour later, she posted on her Instagram story, crying selfie, mascara streaks, a caption about being betrayed by people you'd die for. Jake commented a single heart emoji. I didn't block them. Watching the facade crumble felt like its own kind of therapy. That Friday, Brooke showed up again. Noah was home this time. He saw her standing on the porch with a manila envelope and that familiar posture, chin high, guilt wrapped in arrogance. "Want me to handle it?" he asked. "No," I said. "I want her to see the door stay closed." She knocked 4 times, waited, knocked again, then shouted through the wood, "You're ruining this family, Alara." Mia froze in the hallway, her little hand clutching the frame. "Mom," she whispered, "why is Aunt Brooke mad?" I crouched down. "Because she doesn't like the rules changing." "Did she break them?" "She did," I said quietly. "And sometimes, when people break rules, they lose the right to play." Brooke eventually gave up. She slid the envelope under the door, mortgage statements, overdue notices, a single sticky note that said, "You'll regret this." Noah picked it up, scanned the papers, then dropped them in the trash. "That was fast," he muttered. "They're accelerating," I said. Desperation always does. That night, I lay awake scrolling through the photos of Mia at the theme park. Hair flying, cheeks sunburned, joy untouched. The contrast felt biblical. I started to think about Lena, Noah's ex, the woman Brooke had once invited to a family barbecue by accident. It wasn't about Lena herself, it was about power. My sister liked to remind me I was replaceable, even in love. So when a tagged photo of Brooke and Lena popped up on social media that week, old friends catching up, I didn't take the bait. Instead, I screenshot it and sent it to Noah with one line, "They're getting creative." He replied, "Desperation looks good on them." We didn't talk about it again. We didn't have to. By the weekend, the financial tremors turned into aftershocks. The mortgage company called again. The woman's tone was kind but rehearsed. "Miss Wynn, we've reached your parents several times with no response. Given your history on the account, we thought you should know—" "I'm not on it anymore," I said. There was a pause, the kind reserved for people realizing something irreversible. "Understood. Have a nice day." I hung up and felt something unfamiliar bloom inside me. Not guilt, not relief, something cleaner, detachment. Saturday morning, Mia found me in the kitchen flipping pancakes. "Are Grandma and Grandpa coming to visit?" she asked. I hesitated just long enough for her to notice. "No, honey, not this time." "Did they move away?" "Kind of," I said. "We're just giving them space." She nodded, like it made perfect sense. Kids are fluent in absence long before adults admit it. That afternoon, we drove out to a lakeside fair 2 towns over. Mia won a stuffed whale from the ring toss and named it Justice. When we got back, my phone was vibrating nonstop on the counter. 8 missed calls, a voicemail from Dad, a text from Brooke. "You're heartless. He's sick." I didn't open any of them. I just stood there, watching Mia fall asleep on the couch, clutching the whale, and realized the truth. They didn't want reconciliation. They wanted reinstatement. I'd been the quiet foundation holding up a house that never acknowledged I existed. Now the walls were cracking, and I wasn't reaching for plaster. That night, I deleted the family group chat entirely. Noah came in from the balcony, hair wind-tossed, carrying 2 mugs of chamomile tea. So, he said, did you finally pull the plug? I did. How does it feel? Like oxygen, I said. Like I've been underwater for 34 years and just broke the surface. He raised his mug in a mock toast to breathing. I clinked his cup to silence. Outside, the wind rattled the windows, and for the first time in a long time, it didn't sound like warning. It sounded like freedom. The first real crack came with a tow truck. I didn't find out from Brooke directly. I found out through her Instagram story, a shaky, half-crying video captioned, "Some people really want to see you fail." The camera panned just enough to show her Audi being hauled away, Jake arguing with the driver, her voice breaking as she said, "We were never late. This isn't fair." Except she was late, and it was fair. An hour later, she texted me, "Did you cancel the lease without telling me? What the hell is wrong with you?" I stared at the screen, thumb hovering, then turned it off. I wasn't going to dignify that kind of revisionism. When you spend years saving people from their own chaos, they start believing the chaos belongs to you. By Wednesday, Mom called again. This time her tone was level, clipped, calculated. "Alara, don't be spiteful. We need to move past this." The word spiteful twisted something in me. I wanted to ask if it was spiteful to buy her insulin when Dad forgot, if it was spiteful to pay the mortgage she signed, if it was spiteful to fund every one of their emergencies until mine didn't count as real. I didn't say any of that. I hung up. The next morning, a message arrived from Dad. Short. "You made your point. Enough." And attached, a photo of Mia. Not from now, from years ago. Her sitting on his lap, laughing, holding a stuffed bear. Underneath, a line. "She still loves her grandparents. Does she know what you're doing?" I stared at that photo until the pixels blurred. It wasn't nostalgia, it was manipulation. I could almost hear his voice behind the screen. Low, steady, always reasonable when he was rewriting the truth. That night, I showed Noah. "They're using her now," he said quietly. "You know what that means." "Yeah," I said. "They've run out of money, so they're spending guilt." 2 days later, I was at the mall with Mia. She was trying on new shoes, glitter sneakers she'd been saving for. I left for 5 minutes to grab pretzels. When I came back, Brooke was kneeling in front of her, whispering. I froze. My brain went still, cold. Brooke looked up, startled, then straightened quickly. "Ilara," she said, voice bright, fake. "I was just saying hi." "Don't," I said. "Just that. Don't." She blinked, opened her mouth to speak, but I didn't let her. I took Mia's hand, turned, and walked away. In the car, Mia was quiet. Then she asked, "Why did Aunt Brooke say you're mad because of money?" I didn't answer right away. The kind of lie that saves innocence still leaves splinters. "Sometimes," I said slowly, "people say things when they don't want to be wrong. But that's not our problem anymore." That night, I changed the code on the smart lock. Small thing, big meaning. By Sunday, I heard the knock before I saw them on the camera. All three of them. Mom, Dad, and Brooke. Standing on my porch in the rain like an intervention team assembled too late. Noah was beside me. "Don't open it," he said. "I'm not." Mom held something. A photo album, I think. Brooke crossed her arms like she was the one betrayed. Dad stood silent, hands in his coat pockets, face carved from stone. They rang the bell, knocked again, called my name. I walked to the door, close enough to see their breath fog the glass, and pressed the intercom button. "We're not doing this," I said. Mom's voice wavered. "We just want to talk. Whatever you're here for, it's not welcome." Brooke tried to yell something back, but I pressed the button again. "No more. Go home." And then I walked away. Noah stayed by the window until they finally left. The sound of their car backing down the driveway was softer than I expected, like retreat instead of rage. Upstairs, Mia was painting on her desk, humming to herself, completely unaware. I stood in the doorway and watched her for a while. The colors on her paper were bright, impossible shades that shouldn't have worked together, but somehow did. That was the moment I realized this wasn't a feud. It was a clean break in progress. They had crossed lines you don't come back from. They'd lied, used me, and now they were trying to rewrite Mia's world to pull me back in. But I wasn't theirs to manipulate anymore. I wasn't angry. I was done. It happened on a Sunday night that almost felt safe. We'd spent the day at the coast, just me, Noah, and Mia. Sunlight, greasy boardwalk fries, seagulls screaming like gossiping neighbors. Mia laughed so hard at a magician's trick she got the hiccups, and for a few hours, I let myself believe the world had reset. When we pulled into the driveway, the light was gold and calm. Noah was still humming along to the radio when he stopped suddenly. "Alara," he said, "look." The back window of his truck was shattered. Glass glittered like sugar across the pavement. Long, deliberate scratches ran along the side, 5 of them, front to back. Someone had taken their time. Noah swore under his breath. I didn't. I already knew. I walked straight to the tablet in the hallway and opened the security feed. 3 figures. 2:47 a.m. 2 hooded, 1 in a baseball cap. They crept around the side of the house. The tall one smashed the window. Another dragged something sharp down the truck's paint. The third just watched. At one point, the smallest figure looked up, straight toward the camera. Not directly, but just enough for me to recognize the slouch, the way the shoulders rounded in hesitation. I'd known that posture since childhood. It was my father. The tall one was Jake, which meant the third, by elimination and by instinct, was Brooke. They did this. They actually did this. Noah's jaw tightened. "We're reporting it." "I know," I said, but I didn't move. I sat on the couch and stared at the frozen image on the screen. My father, in a hoodie, in the middle of the night, vandalizing his daughter's home over money, or pride, or both. Noah started filling out the police report on his phone. I watched his fingers move across the keyboard, then reached out and stopped him. "I can't," I whispered. He looked at me, disbelief sharp in his eyes. "They destroyed our property, Alara. What if Mia had been outside? What if they come back?" "I know," I said again, "but I can't have her grow up knowing her grandparents went to jail because of a birthday party." He stared at me for a long time. Then he shook his head. "You're giving them mercy they don't deserve." "Maybe," I said, "but I'm not doing it for them." That night, I lay awake, listening to the house breathe. Every creak, every shift in the air felt like the past leaving in fragments. By morning, I had made my decision. Before work, I changed the locks. Again, this time to physical ones. I had the smart system synced to alert me if any of their phones or devices came within 100 feet of the house. Then I did the real erasure. Phone numbers, blocked. Emails, filtered to trash. Social media, wiped. Emergency contacts at Mia's school, replaced with Noah's sister and her husband. Shared folders, deleted. It felt surgical, clean, final. 2 days later, Brooke tried texting from a new number. "You can't just erase people," she wrote. I didn't reply. She was wrong. You can erase people. You just have to decide that peace matters more than history. 3 months passed. Not a call, not a text, not even a half-hearted birthday comment. The quiet was startling at first. Then it became normal. Then it became necessary. For the first time, I woke up without the background hum of anxiety. No checking my phone for emergencies that weren't mine. No calculating how much forgiveness costs. Then, one Thursday morning, the doorbell rang. Noah looked at the camera feed, then turned to me. "They're here." I didn't have to ask who. Mom stood under a gray umbrella, soaked anyway. Dad beside her, still and cold. Brooke in the back, arms crossed like a defiant child. Mom was holding something. A photo album. Probably full of pictures meant to rewrite history. Noah's voice was low. "If you open that door, I'm leaving." "I won't." I walked up to the intercom and pressed the button. "We're not doing this." Mom's voice broke through the speaker, wet with practiced tears. "Alara, please, we just want to talk." "No," I said. "Whatever you're here for, it's not welcome." Brooke yelled something I couldn't make out. I didn't care. I pressed the button again. "Go home." And then I turned away. I didn't watch them leave. Didn't look back through the camera. Just went upstairs, fixed a leaky faucet, and felt something like air returning to my lungs. That night, Mia showed me a drawing she'd made at school. Our family. Me, Noah, her, and our dog. No grandparents, no aunt, just us. She didn't even ask why. That was when I knew the break was complete. It wasn't revenge, it wasn't hate, it was protection. Peace isn't something you negotiate, it's something you guard. They thought blood would always be enough, that I'd cave like I always did, that they could shatter things, and I'd still show up with the glue. But not this time. I didn't lock the door out of anger. I locked it because they don't live here anymore. Mia turned 8 last weekend. We kept it small. 3 friends, a cupcake station, a shark piñata that took 10 minutes to break. She opened each gift slowly, said thank you after every one, and then looked up at me and said, "This is perfect." And it was. No chaos, no guilt, no calls pretending to be apologies. Just laughter echoing through a house that finally belonged to us. Later that night, after Mia was asleep, Noah handed me a slice of cake and asked, "Do you think they've finally given up?" I smiled. "No, I think they finally realized the door isn't opening again." And I meant it. I used to think cutting them off would feel dramatic, heavy, final, maybe even cruel. But it feels like turning off a noise I never noticed until it stopped. The guilt isn't there anymore. When I look at Mia, I don't see a child missing a family. I see a girl surrounded by people who show up every single day, no strings attached. And that's enough.